Hello from Manchester. Behind me is the Blackfriars Bridge over the river. Well, so I'm actually in Salford. I started making a film about Manchester a few years ago, 3 years ago to be precise. Exactly 3 years ago. And we're going to put it out on YouTube as a little memory for myself and anybody else that might be interested, just about certain things in Manchester that has been important to me over the last 40 plus years. And I never completed it because there were sound issues on it, and I didn't have a microphone then, which I do have now. I hope you can hear me. And anyway, so I'm going to put it out, and hopefully you'll enjoy it. Hope you get something out of it, not just an indulgence for me, but even if it is just an indulgence for me, that's something, isn't it? Manchester's been important to my life, and I don't live here anymore, but come back, and it's still. I miss it. There's memories, there's ghosts of the past around every corner in this city, and I've tried to reflect a few of them, some of the people I've known, not all of them, just a few little select things, and I hope you like it. Thank you. That shop behind me, Mozzarella, here on John Dalton Street in Manchester. It was Rare Records, where I worked in 1980. I left school. I was 16 years of age. There was a government scheme here for 6 months. You got off the dole to keep the figures good. But it was good. I enjoyed it. There was Mr. Scrivens, who wore what my dad described as a demob suit. He was a sort of floor manager, like the Captain Peacock. There was Irving T. Wilson, the manager, and his son, Wilson Jr. There was Malcolm and Maggie. There was Jim in the classical department, and a few other people. But this record shop furthered my musical education, working here. There's me and this other lad on this scheme, but the shop was moving to Wilmslow in 1981, so they were winding it all down. Because whilst here, I heard the news of John Lennon's murder one morning. The Wilson Jr., who knew I liked, and then called me up from the other branch that opened in Wilmslow and teased me about it. Lennon's been shot. Anyway, yeah. This is where Ian Curtis from Joy Division had worked 5 years before me, and Malcolm and Maggie in the shop remembered him. But Maggie said I reminded her of Ian. Rare Records is all about actually importing American imports of largely middle of the road and soundtrack albums. A lot of people got confused and did think it was actually a shop selling rare punk and new wave pop records. Yeah, Johnny Marr is on record saying this, describing the famous singles basement as an Aladdin's cave of 45s. By the time I started working here in 1980, that had all gone, and they were using the basement as storage. There's Mr. Scrivens. Oh, Mr. Scrivens. He was always making sure we were always hoovering and always dusting the record browsers for some bizarre reason. He was always telling us off about something, you know, he didn't approve of like playing any popular music in the store. But yeah, I'm going to go around the back and talk a bit more about Rare Records, because there's the back window. When the Wilmslow department was opening, so then all the big bosses and Mr. Scrivens and all that, they moved to Wilmslow. They were opening up in Bank Square in Wilmslow after the first 3 months of me being here towards Christmas. And I got the chance to do some record ordering, and we'd order records in that were banned, like the Derek and Clive records. Peter Cook, Dudley Moore. We were playing them in the shop. Great. Certain records I can't listen to without thinking I'm playing them in here. The record player was just by the back of the shop. Yeah, Joy Division, yeah. After finding out about Ian, I became really intrigued about them, and Atmosphere, the single, had just been re-released, I think just a month before I started working here. In September 1980, I think it was anyway, and bought that on 12-inch, still got it, and I bought the last Joy Division album, Closer, which was actually Still my favourite Joy Division album, Closer, even though most people fashionably say Unknown Pleasures, which is a great album too, don't get me wrong, but when I listened to Closer, I remember here, particularly the song Decades.
Here are the young men away from a merry show.
I love them, they're a great band. As I say, after the 6 months was up in March 1980, end of March 1980, I was unemployed again. But I would be working in another record shop again, the end of the year. So yeah, record shops. I tell you what, it was a greater education than I had at secondary school. Bless the memory of Rare Records.
So in 1987, I did another government scheme, this time for Tameside Council in East Manchester. I was based at Tameside College there, and I was in a little design office. There was a guy called Garth. I remember he didn't like me very much. I think he felt a bit threatened, so I tended to get the design jobs that he didn't want to do. Anyway, there was a local performance poetry group called Stand and Deliver. And they used to do performances in the college and around the pubs around Ashton, and here at Tameside Theatre in the theatre bar. And I used to go along, and I'd done a poster for Henry Normal, fun enough, who later wrote for Caroline Aherne, and it was Caroline Aherne who was a bunch of people I was friendly with for about 6 months. She was always really lovely. She used to say, "How are you doing on that awful government scheme, Nick?" And anyway, one evening I sort of confessed to her over a drink that I wanted to be a performance poet. And she said, "Well, just get up on those stages, laugh the fuck out of shyness." And anyway, bless her, I wrote a poem about her, remembering her.
Feeling near to a near 40-year-old night. Tameside Theatre, poetry, cabaret, open mic. Regret that didn't go on, that's lasted long. Don't be on your own in your poems, your lovely face encourages. Just laugh the fuck out of shyness and get up on them stages.
Out on the edge of darkness, there rides a peace train. Oh, peace train, take this country.
Manchester was declared a nuclear-free zone, and here in this corner of St Peter's Square was Manchester's Peace Garden established. And I remember I used to hear people like Tony Benn talk passionately about the need for peace here. I was going on demos, and now, since they developed the trams, this corner of St Peter's Square is no longer the Peace Garden, it's the War Garden, home to Manchester's Cenotaph. How ironic.
The Peace Garden has become the War Garden, or to let the trams go past. But once we dreamed of peace, now there's a cenotaph. Here I heard Tony Benn making impassioned pleas for disarmament. Winston Churchill, MP for Davyhulme, espoused the opposite argument, while the crowd goes, "Never!" in a mocking impression of his grandfather. But the Peace Garden has become the War Garden, all to let the trams toot through. In St Peter's, now the bleakest square, the tracks are the only use. Like this ghost of a garden, tarred over resolve for a new war hardens, as people pour on and off trams at the station. More squabbles over land lead to war at a new destination. This building here was the old Granada TV building.
So just over there was Granada Studios Tour, where I worked late 1990 into 1991.
The main Granada building there,
which they're in the process of converting into a hotel.
But yeah, Coronation Street, you can actually see it. I think the original one, there's a picture of it. You can see it end on. The entrance into the studio tours around the other side of the building, Water Street, where I'll go. When I started working here on the mock-up Rover's Return set after I'd failed the audition to be a tour guide here, I lacked the nerve. And anyway, I didn't get. I was working on the bar here, and got through special functions, including the 30th anniversary party of Coronation Street. That was great, and all the cast getting very pissed. I remember Bill Tarmy, who played Jack Duckworth, saying, "Sort us out! Can you sort us out with some more booze?" And we were told by the manageress, this horrible manageress, who my shirt was never ironed properly for, not to have any more drink after a certain time, which I thought was a bit harsh because it's a special occasion. Anyway, I'd found all these boxes of wine in the back, right under the manageress's nose. I said to Bill Tarmy, "Well, there's some wine." He said, "Sort us out, kid. Sort us out, lad. Sort us out, lad." And he stuffed a £20 note in my top pocket of my shirt. So I got in this box of wine, and then he said, almost like came by again in about 10 minutes later. "Can you sort us out, sort us out." He put another 20 quid in my pocket, bought another box of wine, and then I think a third one. So I was right under the nose of the manageress. I was keeping Bill Tarmy and booze. I can't remember if he was drinking with Liz Dawn or when he played Vera or who he was with, but I just remember he was really nice. "Sort us out, lad. Sort us out, lad. Sort us out. Sort us out, lad. Sort us out." And I remember another occasion, it was that same night actually, taking empty glasses in the service elevator. Roy Barrowclough, who played Alec Gilroy, who probably shouldn't have been in there anyway, seemed to take a shine to me for some weird reason. Well, I was a bit prettier in those days and slimmer. It was him and me, and he got into this. I had this massive, big trolley up to here with empty glasses in it, and he got on the other side of it, and his chubby little hands couldn't get at me through it, but he was wandering around. He was like coming on to me, and he kept saying, "You must be very tired. You must be very tired." So that was that. Managed to get out of there quick. On another occasion in the service elevator here, it wasn't that anniversary party, it was another occasion, but Anne Kirkbride, who played Deirdre, who everyone who's ever met says how lovely she was, and if you've heard that 100 million times, it was true. She really was. She was the only one there who remembered my name. She asked my name once, and then after that she said, "How are you doing, Nick?" and little things, and then one occasion in the service elevator, she was getting, we don't mind getting I think it was a bit of a easy way up for them to the parts of the building which I never saw, because and I don't know how we got talking, but it was had a longer chat with her, and she said, "You all right? You must have looked a bit fed up or something." And I ended up confessing to her that I'd always wanted to be an actor and I couldn't do it, and I was rubbish. I couldn't get a job on the tour because I failed the audition, and I was nervous. And she was really, I can't remember exactly what she said to me, but she was really encouraging and really lovely and warm. Anyway, it wasn't long after that I started getting little bit parts on the tour. I mean, not talking, and not being a tour guide, and not doing any acting as in talking, but bit parts as in dressed up as characters on the tour, like they're the Checkpoint Charlie set from the Len Dayton series that Granada did, Game, Set and Match. I was like a Russian border guard, and what else was I? Downing Street policeman, the Downing Street set. And in the First Among Equals, the Jeffrey Archer series, which was filmed here at the really good House of Commons set, and I was there just dressed up in the gowns. There were comedy debating sessions going on, but I didn't have anything to say. So I got to do various bits on the tour, which was really nice. I'm sure that was I know it was down to Anne Kirkbride. She had a word with somebody and managed to get me a bit of I still did evening functions, but I did less and less, and ended up doing in the end no shifts in the actual mock-up Rover's Return, which was very. Actually, the people that came in, they were lovely. They were always saying, "Is this the real Rovers?" Wanting the pictures taken, and I got to work again. Finally got to work at Granada, at Coronation Street, actually, on the sets, guiding people around. That's what I was doing in the couple of months before lockdown, in January, February 2020. That's what I was doing before lockdown closed the sets, closed everything down. I finally got to work there when, of course, they moved out to Media City. They're wonderful sets there, and Met some lovely people, and I'd be working there again if I was staying in Manchester, because it was nice to finally get to work as a tour guide after all these years I hadn't been.
Dirty old town, dirty old town.
It's the River Irwell. Best river in the world. I'm in Salford, just the other side of the Irwell. Yeah, well, you see those tall buildings over there in the distance, that's Manchester. But this is Salford, this is Chapel Street in Salford, that's Salford Cathedral. And just across the road from Salford Cathedral here was where I got my acting mojo. At the City Acting Studio, the old Bank Theatre that was here, until they demolished it. I started it in 1991, it was like 6 months I think. I can remember so much about it, but as in the logistics about how often we used to go into it. I think it was once a week. That it never gone away, my desire to want to do acting, and somehow I don't know why, but I was confident enough to enrol in an acting course here. Well, it wasn't here originally, it was just a few blocks down that way near the Irwell. One of those old Victorian bonded warehouses that Manchester has a lot of. That's now demolished. And anyway, we were there for the first 2 or 3 months, and it was run by a theatrical agency called Lane Management. And in this warehouse they had the offices, and we had a space just above there, and we made it into a theatre. And Andy Devine, who was an actor, he was the teacher, and if you ever watched Emmerdale, he'll be familiar to you. He played the character Shadrach Dingle. And I always think that Andy used to look the spitting image of the cowardly lion in The Wizard of Oz. Put him up, put him up, put him up. He didn't sound like that, but he looked like him. And Andy championed the Stella Adler technique, which some people call the method, and she'd worked with Lee Strasberg and branched out on her own, Stella Adler in New York back in the 1950s, and quite simplistic sort of technique really, which appealed to me actually, it really did, get in character. And though I've never really espoused one particular technique with acting, just whatever works for you and whatever occasion really. And we were at that warehouse for the first 2 or 3 months. We worked on scenes. Everything we did was filmed on an old VHS video camera. And little scenes we did. Andy would give us sort of a subject like the action to grieve, or dark level piece to do. I remember I did one about Hillsborough. Somebody who'd seen their friend die at Hillsborough. That awful tragedy. And we always take it in turn to do a bit of filming. Though Albert, he was he always wanted to film everybody. Albert did so. And you'd get a tape and you'd watch back yourself afterwards, and it was actually really good watching yourself on film. And if anybody, I'd be the last person to ever give acting advice, but one thing I would do is say to you, get everything you do filmed so you can have a look at yourself, so you can pick up on various tics and things that you think that you've got rid of because you're so immersed in the character, but that you're still doing. And of course we were paying for the course. I don't even really know how much we were paying, it was all going to Lane. I was living in Didsbury, Northern Grove, 52 Northern Grove, just off Burton Road in it was Withington actually, West Didsbury, Withington, right around the corner from Withington Hospital. Best house I ever lived at in Manchester, that was. So I didn't have very much money. I was always really skint, always, ever since I've been trying to do anything involving acting, I was skint. I'd finished the sort of contract working at Granada Studios tour, and actually Lane Management here, Elaine, who used to front it, they were very good to me actually, because they got me all extra work on Granada shows. They were very much involved with the kids from Oldham Theatre Workshop, a lot of whom ended up being on Coronation Street, and they were quite a good agent, and they got me extra work, I should say, really, on on various Granada TV shows at the time, like Cracker and what else? Coronation Street itself, and Sherlock Holmes. So yeah, I did that. I think maybe being around film set. Oh yeah, Medics as well. Actually, had a speaking part on Medics. Yay! And so what was I saying? I've been lost my train of thought now. Medics. Actually, had a speaking part as a young doctor in that. Tom Baker, former Doctor Who, he was in that. Anyway, maybe being around television sets and things, and it got me thinking, I could do acting and things. But so anyway, we moved from that warehouse where we were for the first half of the course. We moved here to this old bank. Had been an old Anglo-Irish bank or something like that. It had been long since empty, like a corner building. There wasn't much over there actually of old buildings even then, and it was on a corner. And I'll put a little clip, some photographs into the video so you can see what it was like. Made it a really nice theatre. We came in and put a lot of extra time into painting up the theatre and doing it all up and everything. And yeah, it was really cool. You know, we were starting a theatre company up. We all knew it was going to end at Easter, April 1992. But Andy wanted us for our final showcase here to do sketches from Jules Feiffer. Now, Jules Feiffer was an American writer, probably best known for writing the screenplay to the movie Carnal Knowledge, which I think Jack Nicholson was in. Art Garfunkel was in. But largely they were all adapted to an English setting. And I remember we did a piece called. I did a piece here with Pauline, fabulous Pauline. She was really into Ireland, and I was into Ireland, and her mum was Irish, and we did a piece called Rose in Her Teeth. We turned the American couple into an Irish couple. Well, I was this tough sort of Irish kind of labourer kind of character, and she was the sort of glamorous girlfriend or wife. I can't remember now. And we did that. It was very clever. Everybody, we all did. Those of us that were left, and by the time we did the final show, there were 10 of us left. There were a lot more originally, so a lot of people dropped out for various reasons. But you know, I think the most dramatic thing that happened while we were performing here, the big double doors on the corner, the old stout doors, were ram-raided during mid-performance. The whole building shook, and I think dust came from the ceiling. I'm sure it fell down on some audience members. So they thought it was a bank still. Either that, or they hated actors. I never got to find out about that, but that's hilarious, isn't it? The most dramatic thing that happened on the stage was us being ram-raided by some. Oh dear, yeah. But yeah, my acting mojo was found here, and also it was in Salford, just down the road, Middleton. Albert Finney was raised. But they used to have his dad's old bookmaker's shop was still there, even though it had long gone. Right up into the 80s, there's a famous picture of the Smiths taken beside it. So it's something great about my favourite actor, Albert Finney, coming from round here, and me discovering my acting mojo here. Yep. Yay! Salford!
Hello. Welcome to Manchester Royal Exchange Theatre. I used to love this place. Manchester's real theatre of dreams. Sorry, Old Trafford, Man United, but this is the theatre of dreams. It's the old Cotton Exchange building, which was housed since, I think, 1976. This magnificent lunar module, the Royal Exchange. And my sister got me into this place, seeing shows in the late 70s. The first show I saw here was Tom Courtenay playing Malvolio in 12th Night. I think it was about 1979. And I didn't really, my first Shakespeare actually. Still 12th Night's my favourite Shakespeare play. I I didn't really understand it in 1979, but I found the guy playing Toby Belch hilariously funny. And I played Toby Belch later on. But I remember coming to see Philoctetes by Sophocles here with my dad in 1981 maybe. Robert Lindsay and James Maxwell. It was an island. So many wonderful shows I saw here in the 1980s. Moby Dick, Brian Cox, Captain Ahab, where they were. Oh, it's just Janet McTeer in As You Like It. Gary Oldman in The Country Wife. Adam Ant in Entertaining Mr. Sloan. Just one wonderful play after another. Count of Monte Cristo, which I saw here. That's my favourite. It was in 2 parts with David Threlfall. Oh, what a magical space this theatre is. Truly magical. I love it.
I also remember seeing John Thor here in All My Sons. That was really great. That was in 1988. One of the best ever versions of Hamlet I saw here too. Robert Lindsay, that was about early 80s. Very sort of abridged, but really effective, really powerful. Remember they used to do these quite contemporary plays, and they did a play by Sam Shepard called The Unseen Hand. And that got me into Sam Shepard. Still one of my favourite writers, my favourite playwrights.
One of the reasons I wanted to be an actor was walking through this wonderful space. Yeah, the Royal Exchange Theatre, Manchester. Bless it. And it's still, I think, even though I haven't seen a show here for a number of years, it's excited me like the ones I saw in the 80s and early 90s. Tom Courtenay. God, my favourite actor, Tom Courtenay. I remember talking to him in the bar here. It's called The Rivals now, but I remember talking to him saying how much I love Billy Liar. It was still my favourite movie. And I got to work here in 2019. They've got a studio through there, and I did a play called Wrestling the Walrus here. That was great to be here. Yeah, it was good. It was. I really wanted to be in there. That's where I wanted to be. I wanted to be doing a play in here, not in the studio. So I was so glad to be here. Feel part of this wonderful building. Feel part of the magic. It's a shame I didn't get to. I always thought I'd never be an actor unless I actually performed in this wonderful space, going through one of those wonderful doors.
I'm at Manchester Cathedral, and it was here in the 1960s that my dad was the architect of the cathedral, which was a consultancy role. And in the cathedral there's a plaque to him, which I always try and make time to go and see whenever I'm in Manchester. I always feel close to my dear dad when I'm in churches and abbeys and castles, because this was the sort of thing we used to go around when I was younger, and I loved it. And my dad gave me the interest in history that I have to this day. He was a great teacher. Interestingly, Dad was involved with making the cathedral more open in the 1960s, getting rid of the Victorian pews, making it less claustrophobic, and creating a sort of hexagon or a septagon around the altar area. And funny enough, the 69 Theatre Company that became the Royal Exchange did some early shows here, so I wonder if that's what influenced it.
Just standing by my dad's plaque here, memorial plaque. Dad was a great teacher. I think I learned more from him than I learned from school. Yeah, he got exasperated with me when I was terrible at maths, but I loved him and I miss him. He was a great architect too. One of his churches is here in Manchester, in Flixton, St John's, that he designed. He was a great dad. He really was. There weren't many dads who, when I was at school, nobody else had a dad who fought in World War II, in the RAF, as he had. I remember things like him staying up all night, helping me get up a portfolio of artwork, you know,
trying to get me into art school, which I didn't get into art school. I didn't want to go really. I remember things like him wading out into the lake at Poynton Park, to get a rocket stick for me. Yeah. Very lucky to have had a great dad and a great mum, and still to have a great mum who's never stopped being a great mum to me all her life. I always feel close to my dad when I'm in churches. To be honest with you, in any old building, like castles or abbeys, but yeah, in churches too. I always light a candle. Sludge about. We were at the Old Welly, and my dad was actually one of a number of people involved in actually saving this pub originally when they were redeveloping Manc in the late 50s, early 1960s, building the Arndale and the Shambles Square development. These buildings were actually moved around from their site. These buildings being Wellington, the Old Welly here, and also Sinclair's, the building which is just behind me here. Yeah, these were moved, and the Shambles Square development, which I remember very well coming in the pub. Of course, they were moved again following the bomb in 1996, and completely changed around, resited, different angle, turned. Quite incredible, the feat of saving these buildings. So they've been moved twice. They're almost like they've been on a journey, old buildings that they are, but they've survived, and I like that. My favourite pub in Manc, and as I say, my dad was one of a number of people involved in saving the pub originally, so it wouldn't be here were not for him, and he was a great believer in conservation of buildings, and a lot of buildings around Manchester survive because of him today. Old buildings. A lot of time he did consultancy work without even asking for a penny too. And of course never got money off the church. He was on the sort of advisory committee, diocese advisory committee for Chester, and he was on the Ancient Monuments Society for Wales, and he was passionate about conservation of old buildings. That dear dad was, and it wasn't always successful. There were campaigns like this trying to save the Roundhouse, which was a round church here in down the road in Anchor. In Old Welly, it's a nice pub, and I've got a pint of IPA on the go.
You're like Manchester, you've got strange ways.
Okay, behind me is the Mercure Hotel, but this was, I don't know, 1986, 8. This was the Piccadilly Hotel where I worked as room service for about just a bit less than 6 months, but it was the quickest few months of my life. So I was on duty all night. There were sort of prepared food in the fridge, put in the microwave, take it out to people's rooms, or drinks like champagne. It was funny, really. I remember there was like a mother and daughter team of ladies of the night who were dodging the porters. I go up on the roof. You see, right on the top of the roof of that building. Go and have a ciggy. I was smoking in those days. Great views of Manchester. And one evening, Chris Evans came in with a bag of chips, and he was just all talking to us all in the lobby. He was quite a nice guy, funny. And then I had to take him. That's right. I had to take him some things up to his room, but he never answered the door. Paid for it, bless him. He must have fallen asleep in his room. I think he had a few, but he was a nice fella. And I remember one day having to take like champagne up to this guy, this big sweaty sort of guy, businessman type. It wasn't very nice in there, to be honest with you. It was like a bit like one of those sort of 1960s sort of tower block flats, narrow corridors. I don't know whether they tarted it up now. It wasn't very nice. And I'd taken the champagne up, and I went in the room, and there were all these. He was sort of naked, half naked on the bed, and all these topless women around him, about 3 of them. And I had to sort of open a bottle of champagne with them all there. I know. So there we are. That was the Hotel Piccadilly I worked in Manc. And this is Piccadilly Gardens. Don't get me started to what they've done to this place. That building should never have been allowed, that number 1 Piccadilly. This was a beautiful garden area back in the 70s and 80s that he destroyed. Absolutely destroyed Piccadilly Gardens. You look, there's lots of pictures of it. Lowry even did a painting looking that way towards Primark, which is Lewis's. I miss Lewis's. Lewis's was my favourite department store, the best toy department of any. I love it. Kendall's was good here too, but yeah, there we are. That's the story. Well, I'm here on Oxford Road in Manchester, the Palace Theatre behind me, and I'm standing outside this building here. It used to be the Corner House. You see it behind me. I saw some great movies here over the years. The late 80s, sort of mid to late 80s. A couple stand out. With Nell and I saw here, 1987. Saran de Bergerac, the best around now. Gerard Depardieu, saw that here. 1990. And just a bit further down that way, another great place. Yep, the Odeon Cinema, no longer there. They've got a big new Odeon here elsewhere in Manchester now. The Odeon here on Oxford Road. How many great movies have I seen there over the years? Oh, really fantastic films I saw here. Honestly, I miss it. My cinema going experiences and education at the Corner House and the old Odeon down Oxford Road near St Peter's Square. Happy memories. There's now student halls and residents, I think. Something to do with students. Students trying to buy a bag of chips with a cheque. So yeah, the building behind me is the Ritz here in Whitworth Street in Manchester. And happy memories of the Ritz. It was my favourite place, actually. I love the Ritz. Saw James here in about 1988, I think it was. Saw John Cooper Clarke here about the same time. And saw him again about 25 years ago. So I didn't really see many bands here, but I remember that James gig was really cool. And it was a place to go in the evening, hang out a bit, you know, like a sort of discotheque really, but it was quite old school. It had that sort of dance floor, quite sprung dance floor with a balcony all the way around Ritz. Here on Whitworth Street in Manchester. Still going, I'm glad to say. Right, so I'm standing outside what was the Hacienda. 1982 to 1997 this was open. My time here was between sort of, the first time I went in this place was about 1986 and 87, 88. Didn't go in after 88. I liked it. It was had a sort of, first time I went in there, had a sort of gothy vibe to it. But when I last time I went in there, I think about 88, it changed. It was all kind of that sort of Manchester thing was coming in, you know. I never liked that, to be honest with you. Do you remember there was getting in here sometimes wasn't easy. It was a bit scary. There was a woman, sort of glam woman, blonde hair, bomber jacket, very fit. So just to go down the line of people, picking out people that she thought didn't like. No, you're not coming in. No, not coming in. And then she sort of said to one day, looked at me. I thought she was looking at me, but it wasn't me. I got in. Luckily, I got in. I made it. Very few times I made it in my life into places, but I made it into here. I was never turned away. But she was a bit scary, that bouncer. And it's the Hacienda Apartments now, you see. The Hacienda Apartments. Yeah. Round about here. Where the entrance into the apartments, this is how you got in. A line of people was around here. So there we are, yeah, the Hacienda. But yeah, it was one of the most famous nightclubs. It's become the sort of Manchester's version of a cavern in a different era, isn't it? You know. But of course, the guys from they ran it, didn't they? Tony Wilson and the guys from New Order ran this place, and Dave Haslam was the DJ. But I think he came. I'm not sure he was there at the very beginning. Were you there at the very beginning, Dave? But there we are, the Hacienda. So behind me is one of the great old survivor pubs of Manchester, Peveril of the Peak. Peveril of the Peak! Still here after all these years. Can't quite believe it, actually. He's been threatened a few times. Tommy Ducks has gone now. It's on, if you're ever here in Manchester, check this pub out. It's on Great Bridgewater Street, just around the back of the Bridgewater Hall, really, which is off St Peter's Square. Who'd have thought it? Hidden gem. Well, Max know about it, but yeah, it's great. Should we go in? Should we have a drink inside? Yeah. So yeah, I'm here in Peveril of the Peak. And thank you for that. Cheers to you. Such a cool pub, this. Peveril of the Peak. You've seen it? I've been there for about, last time I came in here was about, good 15 years ago. Yeah. A smug little old pub. Anyway, I really appreciate you watching my videos. I really appreciate you watching this video. My man, bless you. Really appreciate it, bless you. Chin chin. Bonjour. Bottoms up. We'll see you again. I sincerely hope so.